welcome anyone that's viewing on the YouTube channel. Agenda item number 1 is to receive apologies for absence.
Yes, we've had apologies from Councillor Connor and Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you. Previous minutes, they're on pages 3 and 4 of the report. I need to confirm and sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of November. How do I propose that? We got Rob and was Rob here? Rob was here. Rob was here. Rob's proposing.
November was a little while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Rob's proposed and Councillor Moore second. All in favour? Thank you. Agenda item 3 is to report any additional items for consideration which the chairman deems urgent by virtue of any special circumstances to now be specified, and there are none that I'm aware of anyway. Members to declare any personal prejudicial interest on the local code of conduct in respect of any item to be discussed. There are none. So the main item on the agenda is agenda item number 5. It's on pages 5 to 14. The proposed increase to the current Hackney carriage vehicle table of fares. And for that, I'm going to pass over to Andy Fox, who will present the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. As I say, the purpose of the report before you today is to adopt the proposed increase of the Hackney carriage table of fares. The last table of fares increase was in 2019, and in January of this year we received 2 requests for an increase to the tariff rate, which are outlined in the report as option A and option B, which I'll come on to later on. On the 28th of January this year, the Licensing Committee Chair and the portfolio holder considered the requests and basically authorised the licensing team to carry out a formal consultation. This consultation ended on the 1st of April 2022, and the consultation was advertised in the local newspaper on the 3rd of March 2022, and a copy of this was also placed on the council's website. Currently, Fenland District Council has 134 licensed drivers, of which 93 are Hackney carriage drivers. The licensing team received 30 responses from the trade, which represents a 22.3% response rate from the trade on the proposed tariff increases, with 13 voting for option A and 15 for option B, and 2 people voting for no increase at all. And a copy of those responses are attached as Appendix A. So in detail then, the council has a responsibility under the Act for setting the maximum charges that can be charged by Hackney carriage fares vehicles within the districts. And as I say, the current table was approved by council on the 27th of June 2019. The 2 options that were put forward, and I'll go through in detail then. Option A. Option A was an increase to tariff A from the original £3.30 to £4, and then for every 11th of a mile, it's an increase. It's now it's gone from a 10th of a mile to an 11th of a mile, and remaining at 20 pence on that. Tariff 2 is £6 and 30 pence, and tariff 3 £8 and 40 pence, and the extra charge for people has increased from 30 pence, I beg your pardon, to 50 pence. Option B is really applying for an increase to tariff 1 only, and it's an increase from £3.30 to £3.70. And again, this is remaining at 1/10 of a mile, an increase there from 20 pence to 25 pence. No other increases are being proposed to tariffs 2 and 3. I tried writing the reports to give you as much information as possible, and I've shared two documents really with you. One is the coloured paper, which basically shows the league table of local authorities' taxi fares over a 2-mile journey. The current one that's in front of you today is from the April edition, so it is bang up to date. And I've also given you a copy of an email that was received by Councillor David Patrick, that was received on the 14th of April, that highlights some differences in the report before you. The reason for that is obviously I've tried to present the report in originally as it stands in plain English, shall we say, but then when you look at it from the Private Hire and Taxi Monthly, they calculate things slightly differently, which alludes to the anomalies that's shown in Councillor David Patrick's email. So looking at 1.7 then, the coloured table of charts shows that Fenland District Council is in 305th place out of 358. As I say, this is over a 2-mile journey. I've also highlighted there a comparison of where Fenland District Council is in accordance with our neighbouring local authorities. And as you can see, we are the lowest of that. Like I say, I will say that, it's not a race. It's not, who's at number 1 or anything like that. We have to remember that Fenland District Council is very different to Cambridge City, Cheltenham, Derby, Leeds, etc. And then what I've done there further on down is I've given you a smaller table which shows where we are currently, where we will sit after option, if you choose option A, option B, and then the national average, let's say for a 2-mile journey is £6.08. That gives you, sits you there about 166th place within the table. Peterborough have just had a very recent increase, and they've increased to £6 for a 2-mile journey, and that puts them in a ranking position of 188. And then what I've done further on down the reports is to show you the AA fuel report price, and as we all know, the price of petrol currently is shot through the roof. It is coming down again slightly. Certainly from the fares, from the prices shown there, I think it's gone down 2 pence. And then obviously I've shown you the Office for National Statistics, the CPI has rose by 5.5%. So I've given you a lot of information there really, which shows the reasons why I think the fare increase is needed by the trade. So the committee is asked therefore to consider the information within this report. The 2 options that have been set out for the council to vary and increase the tariff. Information that's been provided within this report to support you in making an informed decision having regard to the trade and that of the paying customers of Fenland. Members are asked to consider option A, option B, or a tariff set by the committee themselves. That's a report before you, Chair.
Any questions on the report as it's been put?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I've obviously had a read of the papers and obviously the information you presented today. I'm going to personally disregard the email that you've circulated because I don't really think it's appropriate for a councillor with a pecuniary interest to be circulating something to the committee. So I won't be reading that. But obviously, based on what you've said in the report and obviously the information you've given us today, I do think that an increase is needed. Now, I know obviously everything's going up and people are struggling financially, but the problem is if we make it financially unviable for people to become a taxi driver, we won't have taxis and people are really reliant on them. I personally think option A probably is the best way to go, because although it may look like a large jump, we must remember it's a maximum amount people can charge. So if a taxi driver wants to be competitive and feels they can do it cheaper, they are well within their rights to do that. But it just allows them to charge more if they need to. So I personally think it's time to put them up.
Thanks very much. Councillor Moore.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I've had a good read through the report. And like Councillor Hodge just said, it's clear that an increase is needed for the taxi drivers, especially given the increased costs that they're having in relation to charges they're given by this council, obviously, and also fuel. I don't know if I calculated this incorrectly, but I worked out a 2-mile journey on tariff A and tariff B, and I've made it the same amount of money. But it did involve fractions, and it's been a long time. So, but looking at both of the options, given the fact that the highest rises are coming in place in relation to the late night journeys, and obviously the bank holidays, an issue we certainly have in the area of Wisbech is trying to get a taxi in the evening is impossible because drivers are not working or don't want to work. I don't know what the reason is behind that, but it will certainly give some incentive, and people that are out in the evening are obviously out spending. Some are working, I agree, and I also like the idea of the after 6 p.m. on the public holidays, because you hit a Good Friday that we've just had, and the rates go storming up from the day before. But if there's a cap in there for something along those lines, so I believe, as Councillor Hoyle also said, I personally, looking at this, I'm quite happy to agree with the option A that was proposed.
Thanks very much. Any other contributions? Rob, Councillor Scott.
Yes, I've been looking at the charts, and Kings Lynn is £6, Peterborough is £6, Great Yarmouth and Norfolk is £6. So I think we won't be on the same line. So I think A would be the better way.
Thanks, Rob. A couple of things for me. I mean, obviously, this is before us because the trade asked us to consider this, isn't it? So, you know, clearly an increase is due. And looking at the chart, Peterborough have recently done one, but most of the others haven't reviewed their charges for some time now, which is quite surprising. I guess fees are not increased or reviewed until a request is made. Is that how it works?
That's normally how it works. But I will say, speaking to some of my other colleagues, there is requests coming in all the time now from the trade to other local authorities, neighbouring authorities to us. It's just that obviously they've not got to the end of completing that process yet. So they're probably in that stage of consultation, etc. So yeah, there are requests to put that definitely.
And Andy, just confirm this is maximum.
It is, that's correct.
So the trade can actually charge what they want.
Yeah, they can't charge more than what appears on the meter, but they can certainly charge less than what's on the meter.
Yeah, because, you know, there are some that don't want to see the increases. There are, I think, of the responses, there were more that favoured option B. Personally, I think option A is, at this point in time, is where we should be. But if a driver wanted to charge less, as long as he doesn't exceed these, he can charge less.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, basically, if the user goes into a taxi, the taxi meter must be switched on, and at the end of the journey, it shows the end destination fare, and they can request that fare shown on the meter, or they can transfer less.
Yeah, okay. I guess logic says because it's on run on a meter, it's what's on the meter and it's what they'll charge. Any other comments? Want to make a decision now? I think just as I said, going back, I think, where was it? There were more of the 30 responses, 15 were for the option B, 13 for A. So looking at the trade, there were more of the trade that wanted option B.
It does make you wonder as to whether they have read properly and, they realise that option B is only for taxi tariff one.
Yes.
Increase. There are no other increases to taxi fares 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so if there's no other comments, basically we have to approve an option for this increase. On this occasion, it has to be ratified and go to full council before being approved. Our recommendation, I'll take it from around the floor, is for option A. From the comments I heard.
Can I just ask, because I know you were saying that we don't obviously have a sort of any kind of annual review of this. Could we maybe say that in a year's time we will review it, or not necessarily officially formally, but maybe keep an eye on it or some sort of monitoring? Just if there was a problem, then we could obviously review it again, rather than it kind of being set in stone for the next 5 or 6 years.
Well, I think it's open to request at any time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there are, like I say, there are 358 councils around the UK, and the vast majority of local authorities respond to requests from the trade. Now, a lot of councils will actually put in their policy that you must have a certain percentage of drivers making that request. But there are some councils out there that do have an annual increase. It's there annually. The council make it, whereas I think the vast majority of councils, it's a request from the trade. So if you look at some of these on the National League table, I mean, you look at Pendle, Stockton-on-Tees, Burnley, and Hyndburn. They've not had an increase since 2008. Well, you think how much things have gone up since 2008. So they've gone up considerably. But they probably operate on the principle of the fact that unless they've received a request from the trade, they're not going to do it. So it's councils do it differently.
Okay, before we just take a show of hands on which option, Clarence Collins made the long journey from Peter. Any comments to make on that?
No comments, Chairman, but thank you anyway.
Jolly good.
I think, Chairman, sorry, if I could just come in, I think, if, as a committee, if you'd like us to take it on board to obviously add it into looking at this on a yearly or, or every 2-year basis, again, we can look at cost of fuel, see whether that's gone up or gone down. We can take that into account. If that's something you'd like us to do, then we can add that into our work.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, because eventually taxis will be electric. I don't know if there is any electric ones out there, and it may be cheaper fuel for them. So I think biannually would be a good idea.
So kind of a proposer for an option increase.
Yeah, so I propose that we go with option A
Okay,
and we review it, like we say.
Andy second on that. All those in favour of option A? So that's carried, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Agenda item 6 is anything that was under 3, and there were none. So that concludes the meeting. Thank you all for attending, and member services for their support. Thank you very much.
Apologies to my ladies, I've done the taxi service.